how did you know when they were done? Because that's one of the hardest things.
It's the hardest thing.
And like, I can just imagine myself in a shed,
going on forever,
just going mad. Like,
it's so difficult to know it was done. I mean, it was definitely. First of all, what helps, I remember someone had said to me in passing, someone was mixing their own work, and they had said, never mix your own work.
Yeah, because you got, was it Duncan
Pym, who was amazing. I think I got like 90% there.
Okay.
And when I knew I was 90% there, I was like, it's time to contact Duncan, who I'd already worked with on Carla, and I sent him the stuff. And then he gave me a date, and then I was like, I just have to finish them. But I mean, I am the worst person to give advice on that, because I never know when it's done, and it was, you know, it took me like so many years to get round to just like sitting down and doing it and finishing it. But eventually you do. I think when you're working on your own so much, if you're not working with other people, then you have to try and reach out to other people in whatever way you can, even if it's just like knowing, okay, next week I'm going to send it to these 3 friends, and I know those 3 friends are, you know, maybe they're other artists, whatever, going to give me their honest opinion. And then I know just trying to involve other people as much as you can is what helped in the end. And just tell other people that you're doing it, so that when they next ask you, you have some sort of accountability to be like, it's happening soon, and, you know, I know it's been a year since I last said it was coming out next month or whatever, but you know, it's gonna happen soon.
That's such sound advice.
Yeah, I think that's the closest.
As a solo artist, like, it's so easy to get trapped in your own head, or just lose track of the sense of where you're going and the time scale.
What became tricky as well is that it happens over such a long period of time. When you leave too long, you're then, by the time you're getting to the finished stage of, like, especially when you produce it, because there was a bit of a process with some of the songs where I wrote them, and then time passed, and then I was like, now I'm going to produce it. But I remember that really happened with Fragments, actually. I wrote that, and then I was like, okay, now I'm going to produce it. And it was like a producer collaborating with a songwriter who was just his previous self from like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. And sometimes you can kind of move, you're like, I actually wouldn't write this anymore. And that's really tricky.
Yes.
But you have to just say, fuck it, and do it. You just have to be like, this doesn't need to be on my laptop forever. Like, art doesn't belong on some hard drive, and it's never going to be perfect, and at some point you just have to realize that it's never going to be perfect, and just let it be and put it out there, and know that it represents maybe your previous self, but that's okay. That's okay that it's not representing exactly who you are now. Nothing will quite represent exactly who you are now, because you're constantly changing the idea of what you want to write and whatever.
It's so true. Like, so many people have sort of said, when I'm like, oh, I love this past project you did, and they're like, I listen to it and cringe now. And it's amazing, like, people who say that, and you sort of think, but that's a really amazing piece of work. You're always moving on. You're always sort of thinking about the next thing.
You're always, exactly. But I think now I've got a bit of, I think when I first released it, I was more like that, and I found it very difficult to promote, because you sort of have to be telling everyone this is the best thing since sliced bread, whereas in reality it's this lie, because you're actually looking at it and being like, I see every single hole in this. I see everything that I wouldn't do anymore, and actually I'm most aware of its faults now than I ever have been. But I'm not going to mention that. I'm going to tell you, please download it, please stream, please follow me on Spotify or whatever like that. It's this complete lie that you have to tell, which is really difficult.
How do you navigate that? Because it's such a mindfuck. Like,
I think you really have to try and connect to how other people are hearing it for the first time, and also just try and see the positive, find the positives in it, and know what it's good for. But there is a bit of magic, though, I think, that happens when you've been listening to your own work over and over again. You've been listening to the chorus, been mixing the hi-hats, whatever, and all these little things, and then you show it to someone else, like just one other person. They put the headphones on, and even if you might not even be listening at the same time, you start to hear it almost like your brainwaves just connect, and you start to hear it how they're hearing it, which is for the first time. And it just, this magic just happens. And I think I always try and connect to that, like someone who's just listening for the first time, and you have to physically do it. I think you can't pretend. You have to get someone else to do it, and then you just connect to them as they're listening. So I think that's the best thing. But I struggle every time. It's never easy. I think, isn't it? I can't remember which artist says this. Someone very famous says whenever you release an album, a bit of your soul dies in order to do it.
Wow, I haven't heard that one. That's dark.
Yeah, which I think it does a little bit, because you have to sort of, well, it's not
because you accept that
you have to accept its failures.
Gone.
Yeah, you have to accept the failures of it, I think.
Okay, that's got more layers than I initially thought. I see that. Yeah, and sort of relinquishing control over it as well.
Yeah, definitely.